Arsenal demolished Newcastle 4-1. A little bit of revenge, but forget all that. There's bigger things to worry about, and that is the momentum we're trying to build in this title race. It's now 6 wins in a row, and it's a really good response towards the 3 defeats before the Dubai trip, that famous Dubai trip that seems to have fixed all of Arsenal's problems. But it was also a really important moment for Arsenal to ensure that what happened against Porto didn't become one of a few trends we've seen under Arteta, which is sometimes an inability to shake off a bad moment or a bad day or some bad form particularly quickly. Arsenal did that in impeccable fashion against Newcastle, just saying to everyone, all right, Porto was a blip, we'll worry about that when that comes around, back to business in the Premier League. And we were 4-0 up, and Joe Willock, hair-end player, if anyone's going to score for Newcastle, I guess that's the one I'd want it to be. Otherwise, it was a perfect afternoon, or not afternoon, it was 8 p.m. kickoff, thank you Premier League, but it was a perfect Saturday night for Arsenal. The Emirates Stadium was rocking and Arsenal were on fire. And do you know what is really testament to how well Arsenal are playing? I was just chatting to our amazing production team, big up Ryan and Joe, and they were saying that might have been our best first half of the season. I'm pretty sure we said that when 4-0 up against West Ham. I'm pretty sure we said that after totally dominating Liverpool. I'm pretty sure we've said that about so many performances since coming back from Dubai. Arsenal are building on it time and time again, especially in the Premier League, and it's great to see. Let's go through some of the numbers before we talk about Kai Havertz, Jorginho, Nicolas Jover, and a lot more in what is a jam-packed tactical insight. Graham isn't here, unfortunately. He does send his best wishes as always, but trust me, there's no shortage of content and stats and detail as always in this show. The match stats have Arsenal beating Newcastle 4-1 with 18 shots to their 3. We had 8 shots on target to their 2. Limiting Newcastle to just 3 shots is really impressive. When they were playing away at Anfield, they got battered, right? It looked like Liverpool could score 6, 7, 8 in that game, but Newcastle were worthy of the 2 they got and could have maybe got a 3rd or a 4th. And again in the City game, where City played really well, they still had something going the other way. So for Arsenal to dominate so well, but to keep Newcastle at arm's length throughout pretty much the whole game, but maybe 1 or 2 moments in the second half, unbelievably impressive. 55% possession was Arsenal's with an XG of 2.72 to their 0.18. Total and utter domination. And we're going to go straight into the starting 11 that did it. Because what we've got here, the 2 11s, with Arsenal in a 4-3-3. Newcastle getting most of their players back, so you can see Livramento in for Burn. I was listening to what Newcastle fans had to say. They were kind of expecting Dan Burn to get dropped. Apparently he's not been playing that well. Okay, fair enough. And otherwise, still a good side with the youngster Miley in there. Bruno Guimaraes at the base, who I think we all felt we owed him one after, well, you know what happened at St James's Park. And Arsenal went with a team that saw the return of Jorginho. And crucially, compared to when he last started in the Premier League for us against Liverpool, we saw it looking like this, and we talked about it on Tactical Insight. Jorginho playing as the left A, so he had the option to get forward. What we saw in this game was him restored to the position you expect to see, which is at the heart of midfield here. So Rice could get forward along with Ødegaard. And Rice was playing very much as a box-to-box 8. He very much was getting forward, overlapping, underlapping at times, but also sitting deep to build up with Jorginho so we could build up with a 4-2. At times, Ben White did invert. We are seeing a little bit more of that, but I wouldn't say it's something we're seeing all the time. It doesn't feel like this is a shape we're seeing that often for Arsenal. It does feel more like he's almost inverting into this space at time to get forward. You're actually going to see that with the second goal we break down in a sec. We saw him in very advanced areas and at times overlapping so that Saka can move inside, and then Jorginho is very much playing as a 6. But yeah, you've got a back 4 and build up, and you've got White picking up quite a few different areas as well. But I thought it was interesting that Jorginho was restored to the 6, and clearly what we saw in that game against Liverpool was a lot more of a one-off. He wanted clearly Rice, Saliba and Gabriel at that base to really be that trio in front of David Raya, that spine, with Jorginho allowed to go forward and play. But this is kind of restoring back to something that we thought we'd see a lot more of this season, which is Jorginho at the 6 with Rice, box to box and moving forward. Now, one of the players as well we want to talk about is Kai Havertz, who we've got here in this kind of striking role. He was dropping into the space. Again, we saw against Liverpool that he was kind of forming a box with Ødegaard. And let's just draw the lines for a sec. You basically had this box controlling the game against Liverpool. I think in this game he was playing much more as an out-and-out striker with much more of a midfield three, and it was great to see. I thought he had a really, really good game, Kai Havertz. Let me just give you some of his numbers. He accumulated a 1.8 XG across the game, ranking first more than any other player. He was the most dangerous player in terms of getting into striking positions, which you'd expect from your striker. 8 touches in the opposition box, ranked second in the game. He had 10 total duels, ranking first, 5 aerial duels, ranking first, 4 aerial duels, 1 ranking first, and he also won possession back the most times, as well as the most times in the final third. So he did a really good job on and off the ball. It was a very, very complete striker's performance from Kai Havertz. I really, really enjoyed the way he played the game. He also had a good pass accuracy, the second best of all Arsenal players. When you look at the way he played that role, and it started from kickoff. From kickoff, we set the tone immediately. The long ball, I can't remember if it comes from David Raya, one of our centre-backs, but the long ball goes immediately into Kai Havertz. He wins the ball with his chest, takes a touch. We then go on and play, and we win 2 corners in the first 30 seconds. He set the tone. His striking performance was incredibly complete, and it just gave Arsenal a foundation that final third. This was Havertz's best. It was his best game for Arsenal, without a shadow of a doubt for me. He was at the heart of everything we wanted to do. It stuck for him in the final third. Yeah, a couple of moments he could have done better, like that 1-on-1 moment, a couple other strikes on the edge of the area, or a couple of moments. But generally, I thought he was very complete and did a really good centre-forwards job. It's where I want to see Kai Havertz playing most of his football. And we're going to talk about the goal he scored, because I think this is a really good goal in terms of pure movement as well. Now we've got here is Jorginho on the ball. We're going to talk about Jorginho very soon, because he deserves a lot of praise. But again, remember I talked about Ben White advancing and inverting, but more into those more central pockets. You see it there, he's in between Botman and Livramento. And that's a bit of a problem for Botman and Cher, because they're having to sort of come across and keep an eye on White. And Livramento doesn't want to tuck in, because otherwise Saka is in acres of space. There's Jorginho, and he plays an unbelievable pass. We're having our fun on the watch along talking about it. He just, when he's given time and space to play, and you keep wondering, you look at that midfield three of Longstaff, Guimaraes and Miley. Let's highlight them here, actually. You look at them going, why are none of them closing Jorginho down? Why are they not getting closer? Well, I think if they do, they fear that there's a pass into Odegaard, there's a pass through the line to White, there's a pass out wide to Saka. So I think they're more worried about tracking the runners than actually closing down Jorginho, which feels crazy to me when you know how good he is on the ball. So Jorginho there's got it. He plays a lovely pass, and it's that Martinelli darting run that gets on the end of it. And at this point there is chaos for the Newcastle back four. We'll have to rearrange. And Havertz and White are very clever. Havertz in particular, because he recognises that they're all over the place and he can make a clever run. But let me just pull it back for a second to show you and highlight this run that Martinelli makes. It's really, really good. It's out to him. It's a Liverpool front three-esque run. It's not just hugging touchlines. It's being what's the word? Flexible in your movement. It's, angles. It's out to in. It's, Trippier doesn't know whether to follow him or not. He ends up not doing it. He ends up saying to his centre-back, you guys deal with it. And that is very, very difficult to defend. And Arsenal do brilliantly. Jorginho plays that pass to Martinelli, but what you're going to see here is Botman has to come across to deal with Martinelli. And so because Botman's gone across, Cher then has to go and actually attack this space. Let's show it here. That is vacated by Botman. Because if he doesn't, there's no one at the near post to try deal with it. But Martinelli does really well to dig the cross out. And Havertz, rather than just running in a straight line into that space, he almost runs behind Cher, kind of cuts across and then darts into that space where the penalty area is. And then you see it here. Cher has to come across, Havertz goes running behind and then finds himself in acres of space. When he scored that goal, I was thinking to myself, how is Havertz in so much room? How have they not clocked that there's one striker in the box to pick up? Should Trippier come across? However you want to dress it up, whatever Newcastle should have done better, it's because that run from Martinelli and the centre-backs being pulled apart, then Havertz does really well to just come across and then dart, and he attacks it really, really well. It was really clever from Kai Havertz, really good striker's movement, and he gives Arsenal the 2-0 lead, and at that point Arsenal are looking really, really comfortable. Now the pass through that ball, Jorginho, big part to play in that goal, big part to play all game. We've got some numbers that prove it. Here are 4 of his standout stats against Newcastle, where with 109 touches, 103 passes, 92 accurate passes and 33 passes into the final third, he ranked first for all those very nice metrics which you expect to see from a defensive midfielder, from a number 6 who's there to dictate the tempo, get on the ball, but crucially is having impact in the final third as well. But I think this stat here in this graphic actually highlights Jorginho's importance and how intelligent he is with the ball more than any. What I've got is touches per pass from Arsenal starting 11 versus Newcastle. Now, what do I mean by that? What I mean is, how many touches does Jorginho take before he releases that ball? How many touches compared to every other player does he take per pass before he releases it? And as you can see, at 1.06, Jorginho releases that ball quicker than any other player in the starting 11. He gives it and he goes at 1.06. And to be fair, Saliba's 1.08 is really impressive as well. But he is getting that ball, giving it. He's not dwelling on it. He's not taking those touches before he receives it. It is touch, pass, touch, pass, touch, pass. He sets the pace. He is the tempo dictator, and everything runs through Jorginho when he is playing in this kind of form at the heart of Arsenal's midfield. And the big thing, I was asking Forever Arsenal, why are they, and I actually asked in this show, why are they not getting near him? Why are they not closing him down? There's no point. By the time he receives it, he's giving it again. So you may as well worry about all the other players in the team. And that is what is so impressive about Jorginho as well. Phenomenal performance. And Jorginho is coming out as one of Arteta's best signings. When you think that we paid 12 million for him, people are going, is he pound for pound one of the best? So I wanted to actually ask this question. And I've got here my top 5, actually I've got my top 6, Arteta signings, pound for pound. So what we spent for them to what we're getting in terms of performance, these are my top 6 under Mikel Arteta. And Jorginho's performance made me think about it. But it's not just Jorginho, it's someone else as well. So here they are. Gabriel Magalhaes, I've got as number 1 for £27 million, always available. He is, for me, one of our best players. The form he's in at centre-back, really hard role to play in a team that press so high up the pitch. At £27 million, he, for me, is our pound-for-pound best signing under Mikel Arteta. But Martin Odegaard at 35 million comes close. Ben White for 50 million, again, always available, can play centre-back, right-back, can overlap, can invert. He's just absolutely brilliant. I know 50 million is still a lot, but I have him up there as the third pound-for-pound best. Now, you might think I'm crazy. I've got Declan Rice as 4th. And I know we spent £105 million for him, but always available, can play centre-back, holding midfield, can play as a box-to-box. And he's just unbelievable. For me, he's world-class. So I don't care that we spent 105 million. I think 150 million would have been value for money as well. He's been unbelievable, and I have him there in the top 4. And they've got Leandro Trossard at 27 million and Jorginho at 12 million. Because when you look what you paid for them and the quality they bring to this team, mainly as squad players, but when they do come in, they're brilliant. I've got them as my top 6 Arteta signings, pound for pound. But there's another person in this who, for me, is one of Arteta's best ever signings, and some might argue is best, probably not, because I think you always got to look at what they do on the pitch, but it's Nicolas Jover. Nicolas Jover has been one of the best pieces of recruitment that Mikel Arteta and Arsenal have done since the start of the Arteta reign in December 2019. And I want to show you why. Let me just give you a little bit of a story of Arteta's staff. We've got it here. The date of arrival for some of these key players in Arteta's staff. We've got Albert Stuyvenberg, Iñaki Kanya and Steve Round all arrived in December 2019. Now, Steve Round has since left, but we know he was a key part of Arteta's team. They all arrived pretty much the minute Arteta walked through the doors. Now, in his first summer, he got to bring in a few others. Carlos Cuesta, Andreas Jorgensen and Miguel Molina all arrived in August 2020. And Andreas Jorgensen, if I'm not mistaken, was actually the set-piece coach at first. He came in from Brentford, was only here a year before leaving, and then in July 2021, Nicolas Jover arrived. So Arsenal had a good 18 months with their staff before Nicolas Jover came in. I think he was at Man City before, and Arteta brought him in. I'm not sure his official title is actually like head of set piece. I think it's technical something, technical coach maybe, but he works on set pieces. And you can see whenever Arsenal get one, he's on his feet, he's on the touchline, he's clearly instructing, and he celebrates those set piece goals more than any. I saw a tweet saying that apparently Arsenal fans in the ground are celebrating set pieces and winning corners like their goals because Arsenal becomes so unbelievably effective from them, and the numbers back it up. Let me show you here that this season in the Premier League, Arsenal rank first for 18 set play goals, third for set play XG, and fifth for set play shots as well. They also rank 5 for set play goals against. So in terms of goals conceded from set plays, they have the third best defensive record on set pieces, ranking first as well for XG against and shots faced from set play situations. It is unbelievable set of numbers from Arsenal. They're not just really good at attacking set pieces, they're defending them brilliantly. And you've got to give so much credit to Nicolas Jover and Mikel Arteta for bringing him in, and whoever else had to part, whether it's Edu, whoever had to part to play and getting Nicolas Jover to the club. He is having a massive, massive impact on Arsenal when it comes to set pieces, and the numbers are there. But there's more numbers. Let me show you Arsenal's set piece goals and their Premier League rankings in previous seasons. In the 3 full seasons we've had Nicolas Jover, we've been 1st, 4th and 3rd for set piece goals. If you look at the 3 seasons before that, 18th in the 2021 season, 8th in the 19-20 season, and 6th in the 18-19 season. So you can see immediately the impact. We've been in the top 4 for set piece goals since the arrival of Nicolas Jover. And you can see it there, an immediate impact. And Arsenal getting a lot of credit and a lot of flowers for it this season, which is great. But it's actually, since the day he walked in, Arsenal have been so much improved in this area. And it's really important that Arsenal are. This isn't something that we should just brush over because the biggest and best clubs who have competed for the best things, the Man Cities, the Liverpools of this world, they've been recognising for a while that actually set pieces is a massive weapon. In a world where it's really difficult to break teams down sometimes, in a world where it can be really frustrating trying to play against low blocks and, just passing and moving and trying to underlap and trying to work your way into the box isn't always going to work out when you're going to win a lot of set pieces because you are probing, you are getting shots at goal, you are forcing saves and corners and deflection. You've got to therefore be effective from it. I've always likened set pieces to an ace in tennis. It's just a free point. It's a free attempt. It's a way of just going outside of the usual way of winning points. There's another way of doing it, and with goals, set pieces can be a massive weapon. And I also recognise that, along with City and Liverpool, this is a massive weapon that they've got to take more advantage of, and they're certainly doing that. Let me show you the highest scores from set pieces in the Premier League seasons. We look at the last 3 with Arsenal, Everton, Newcastle and City in the top 4 this season. You look at last season, Liverpool, Tottenham, Brentford and Arsenal all in there as well. And then the season before that, City, Liverpool and Arsenal. The better teams are taking this really, really seriously. If you go back to the 16-17 season and the 2 seasons before that, look at some of the teams in this list. I mean, Chelsea are up there, sure, they won the league, but then West Brom, Swansea and West Ham. The season before that, Tottenham, West Ham, Liverpool, Sunderland, and the season before that, Palace, West Brom, Arsenal and Chelsea. So not all teams have always taken, or let's say the very best who are going for the title and, finishing the top 4 year in, year out, they haven't always been taking set pieces really seriously. It's actually normally been seen as like a kind of cheap tactic used by sides that part the bus and want to be sturdy and they want to get cheap goals because they're not going to play and go punch for punch with other teams, so they're relying on set pieces. It's not become that anymore. It's become a weapon that clubs like Liverpool, City and Arsenal are taking very, very seriously, and they're reaping the rewards, and you can see it there in the numbers. They are, like I said, cheap goals, but not cheap in a lot of hard work goes into them. Like Gabriel, Saliba, the work they do, Ben White, blocking players, Havertz getting into good positions as well as some other players in there. Our taller players, Declan Rice, taking some brilliant set pieces since he was put on them post-Dubai. And the work of Nicolas Jover. When I say cheap, I'm not saying it's easy. It's not easy. But I just mean it's like one cross and goal. An unchallenged cross into the box and you get to attack it. You get to freely attack it. That is a really good thing that Arsenal have taken advantage of, and I think it's great to see. So, it goes back to my earlier question. I gave you there my pound for pound best Arsenal signings, but Nicolas Jover, of course, you wouldn't pay a transfer fee, I imagine, comes in, you put him on a contract at Arsenal. Has he been one of Arteta's best ever appointments or signings at the club? I think undoubtedly. So let's show some love to Mikel Arteta, of course, but to Nicolas Jover in the comments section below, because he absolutely deserves it. Now, the final thing I want to talk about is Declan Rice very, very quickly. Let me just bring up here the tactical pad again. Now, have you noticed that Declan Rice does something? And I actually haven't really illustrated that well, but if I just put Arsenal in like a vague pressing shape, yeah? Say with Ødegaard, Havertz there, maybe Saka, to be fair, Martinelli might be around here. And then let's just move Arsenal into a back 4. Now, if I move Newcastle up the pitch, Isak, Gordon, Trippier might hold the width. You got them, the midfielders out here, right? Now, is it just me, or are Arsenal doing this thing that I noticed against Newcastle, where say Botman's got the ball, yeah, Guimaraes tends to find himself, or tended to find himself, in my opinion, in quite a lot of space around here. It felt like that pass was on. Jorginho would be covering sort of Miley, or sometimes he would press up with Ødegaard there. But Declan Rice would be quite far away. He'd almost be sort of in line with the back five, the back four making a bit of a back five at times. And it just felt to me like they were waiting for this moment here, for Botman to play it into Guimaraes, and then Declan Rice would come steaming in to basically nick the ball and create a counter-press situation at which Arsenal were then running at Newcastle's back four. Declan Rice seems to be pressing, almost baiting the opposition into playing that pass into their six, saying, go and do it, because I might look miles away, but trust me, I'll get there. And I've noticed it a few times. He's got this unbelievable ability to come from behind a player, stick a leg out, and just sort of nick it in front of the defence, or nick it in front of that number 6, that midfielder who's trying to retrieve the ball. But I just noticed it a lot against Guimaraes and Newcastle. It felt like they were constantly tempting that pass, and then Declan Rice was there to win it. And I was thinking, the midfield looks really empty, but Declan Rice is a bit of a cheat code and allows the opposition to think, yeah, we've got space, we can play here. No, you don't. Not with Declan Rice on the pitch. I want to know if some of you have noticed that as well. That's been it, everyone. That's been the Tactical Insight show, and so the main things I've noticed from that Newcastle win. A really good win, makes it 6 wins in a row. Kai Havertz has been on fire. Jorginho, just brilliant in that game. By on fire. I mean, he was really good as a striker in this game against Newcastle. Jorginho was fantastic in the heart of midfield. Declan Rice balling out. Bukayo Saka deserves more credit than I've given him in this game as well. Martinelli had his moment for sure with the cutback and the goal. Gabriel Saliba are doing brilliantly, and Nicholas Jover has had a massive impact on Arsenal's season. So big up to him as well. Hope you've enjoyed the video. Hit the like button if you have. Subscribe to AFTV, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Well done, Arsenal. Another huge win.